Hey everybody, it's Will with ScheduleFly, and I'm very excited to have Gina Stefani on the phone today. Gina is in Chicago, and she's with Stefani's Signature Restaurant. It's a family restaurant group. They've been around for several decades, and they've built a wonderful and very well-respected brand in Chicago, and have quite a few restaurants. I think 17, but we'll get into that. But Gina, thank you very much for taking the time to join today.
Well, thanks for wanting to talk to me.
You bet. So am I right? Is it 17 restaurants that y'all have now?
Yeah, we kind of go by liquor licenses. So I would say, we have 17 liquor licenses, about 9 full service restaurants, and then we have some seasonal properties as well.
Wow. That's an impressive group. So, and you just opened another one recently, right? Within the last week or two?
So, in the last, I'd say in the last 6 months, we've opened 2. I opened my first restaurant 2 years ago in the West Loop, and then my brother just recently came into the company over the summer, and he opened his first in November, and I was helping out with that, and now we just opened one in the suburbs 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks today, actually.
You've been busy.
Yes, it's been very busy.
Well, doubly thank you for taking the time. So, I want to get into a couple of things, and particularly into you opening your first. So, but let's go back, just kind of set the table a little bit with the history. This is your brother and you and your mother and father, is that right?
Yeah, so my dad started, he opened his first restaurant in 1983, I believe it is, with Stefani's on Fullerton in Lincoln Park. And he opened it so that his dad, who was my grandpa, who was a baker, had something to retire to. So with that being said, he opened his restaurant, the first restaurant, and then kind of just kept opening them. And my mom always jokes that she married a travel agent, not a restaurateur, and it wasn't until they got married that he was like, I'm just going to open one restaurant, and then he just didn't stop. So over the course of, I was born in 1984, so I was truly born into the restaurant business, the peak of his first restaurant. I grew up just going to the restaurants. And then, as we got older, I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than me. It was always kind of during school, during school breaks, we'd work in the restaurants. And then, going into high school, we worked at Castaways at North Avenue Beach, which is a seasonal kind of burger bar right on the beach. So I started there at 15. My brother and I both started there going into high school, where I worked on the ice cream side. And then, when I turned 21, I moved upstairs and I was, managing. So all of our summers really through high school and college were at Castaways, working long hours. And then when we graduated, it was always kind of spoken that we would both kind of go get our own, go get a job somewhere else outside of the company, gain experience, and then eventually come back into the company. So when I graduated from DePaul in 2008, I worked for a public affairs firm where I was on the events team, which I loved. And so I did events for about 5 years. And then I would say 4 years ago, I came into the company full-time, looking to start really, my first place, which then brought to life Mad Social in the West Loop.
Man, that's awesome. What a great family story. That's got to be really special for y'all to all be able to have been a part of that for so long and do that together. And I tip my hat, because 35 years in the restaurant business in Chicago, with all the, various fluctuations in the economy and everything else for so long, is just a wonderful testament to your business. And my guess is there are probably, may not have been early on, but I would guess that your father and your mother and your brother and you have really come to understand some important sort of foundational principles that you've been able to replicate. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely, everything I do is basically by example of what my dad has shown. And one thing that, he really prides on, or we pride ourselves on for our brand, is just like customer service, which unfortunately these days too, with just the number of restaurants that continue to open, sometimes the service part of it kind of lacks. And it's really important for us to, meet our customers, show our appreciation, really, try to get to know the regulars that we see weekly, and give that extra, service of really showing the customer that we appreciate them coming in and we don't take anything for granted. So that's definitely, the kind of standard that I continue to try to execute in all of our restaurants as we can, move forward with now, these new restaurants opening. And but I mean, the cool thing is my dad, the company itself has grown, but his core group has been with him from day one. So our CFO, his business partner, our director of operations, our corporate chef, have all really started with him 30-something years ago. So we have that group, and now we have my brother and I kind of coming in and forming our group. So it's nice to, turn to them for guidance, but also now have this platform to be able to kind of, go into a different direction.
Well, that's fantastic. I was going to ask you how that's worked over so many years, but having that core group is certainly clearly a key part of that. I mean, it's still, I have to dig a little bit more. I want to help me out, because with that many restaurants, that's got to be hard to scale that up, because the customer service and the presence of you all and the foundation or the core team is I'm sure been an important part of that. But as you continue to grow, how do you keep doing that?
It's actually it's extremely difficult, and I'm finally now just kind of realizing it, because I just actually had a conversation with my dad the other day. I was like, I feel like I'm stretched so thin and I want to be everywhere. How do you kind of prioritize your time that you're not letting one restaurant kind of fall and be forgotten? But it's really all about putting the right people in place. And, I was lucky enough that when I first opened Mad Social 2 years ago, that was my baby. That was my only place. I was there 7 days a week. I lived, I breathed it. And I really got to, it was such a great experience. And, now I find that so much of what I learned in those 2 years is what I'm now putting into place at these new restaurants.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's really, just finding the right people to help you kind of execute and, that you work well with. So my general manager at Mad Social, I started with him, 2 years ago. He's really helped me build it to what it is today. And then, we brought another manager in who really runs it day to day. And now I've moved my general manager over to my brother's restaurant, Bar Cargo, to kind of help there. So it's finding that core group of people that you can trust and are an extension of you to then put in place to kind of help when you're not there, really. But it's challenging, because I'm such a hands-on person, and I really, I've built such a great relationship with so many of my customers at Mad, and in the back of my mind, I'm feel terrible that I don't get to, I used to see the same people every Friday night, and now I'm not there, and it's I don't want them to think I've forgotten about them, but, they all know that right now, opening new places, I got to put some more extra time into the new ones, and then, eventually, I keep telling myself it'll all work its way out.
Well, it's a tough calculus, I think, the balance of that growth without losing the focus on what got you to a point where you could grow. It seems to be a challenge for a lot of the restaurant folks that I talk to as they've developed more locations. But I mean, y'all clearly got a good formula for that. Now I imagine that you've got the the folks that are a part of the team, that have been a part of the team, not only see that in you and your brother and your mother and father leading by example, but that you probably spend a lot of energy developing true, authentic relationships with them, which I mean, people value, how much you you're going to earn is one thing, but do you feel like you're, you know, cared for and
absolutely,
and
like
I mean, that's, I mean,
for
genuinely
us,
matter. And I think that's, y'all
yeah.
clearly have that focus. I can tell just from talking to you.
Yeah, well, and absolutely. I mean, just us being a true family company. I mean, that's really what we, that's what I'm looking for like the team to move forward with, my brother and I, is that loyalty, and you have to connect with that person, and, their strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. And it's really finding like the right people to complete your puzzle. Everybody has, just even my brother and I, like, for example, like, we are so different, and yet it works so well because he's able to pick up things that I necessarily are not so great at, and vice versa. So it's, I couldn't have, wished for such a great, I mean, we've gotten closer since he came into the company, and we're already just such a close family, being Italian and everything like that. But he really, it's been great having him, by my side now.
Well, do you, I mean, one thing I would think is that, because there's so much, and I would imagine in Chicago there's got to be a ton of competition for good talent. But I would think that you all have a unique, or fairly unique proposition, which is to be, it's got two sides of benefits. One being that, hey, this is family owned and operated and has been for many years. So there's a lot of stability there, which is important, I think, to people. I mean, versus the next big thing that might be a flash in the pan and might close in 2 years. But you've also got, you're growing. So to be a part of something, I would think that the kind of people you probably want to hire, because you want the longevity, are probably attracted to, it's like the longer y'all are around and the more places you have, the more they look at that as an opportunity for a long career with a great business. But I would also then ask you, do you wind up finding people that are like the best people that you could possibly imagine, that also have that entrepreneurial drive, that wind up, after some time and learning from you, move along to do their own thing?
Yeah, I mean, and that's where, like, we actually are struggling finding, the right people. I just feel because our, industry is just so large now and so saturated that people are, I mean, most people from what I have found are kind of just going with the best opportunity for them at the moment. So instead of kind of going into a job thinking longevity, it's more like, I think, in the moment of what's great. So when I sit down with people to, bring them on, that's exactly how I pitch it. You're going to start at this salary, but the beauty of it is you have such room to grow. I'm not saying that I'm hiring you and you're going to be at one location forever. You really, as a person, have the ability to form what you want. So if your dream job is to, become a director of operations, or, you want to get into marketing, like, there's just such potential, because we are, like I said, in the last just couple of years have grown so much, and we need the help. We're really looking for people to kind of come in and have their path kind of formed by them. And I think actions speak louder than words. You can come in and ask for however much salary, but truly once you meet a person, get them in there, that you really see what they're going to bring and if it's a good fit, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder I think there's some generational issues that, people may, it's a little bit more of a myopic perspective now, kind of, not thinking long term, which it's unfortunate. I've got 3 kids, so I'm acutely aware of, trying to make sure that I teach them to, think long term and not just say, look, this person's going to pay me the most now, but where are you going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15, and what do you really want? But do you see that more with sort of the millennial generation? Is it more, I mean, are they more mobile and moving around more? And if so, then that presents, I would think, even more of a challenge of when you're relying on customer service being such a key part of the formula.
Absolutely, and that's been the biggest the biggest challenge. I mean, like I said, looking at my dad's company, there's, I just went to our location, Tuscany, last night, and our servers have been there 20 plus years. Like my support staff, we have one guy who has been with the company since it started, and he basically like runs Mad Social as, a busser, and it's just like the work ethic is just, and the loyalty is just so intense and so awesome. And now the struggle is, and I'm not like, I'm 33. I wouldn't say I'm old, but the younger generation of like the 22 to 26, like even just finding servers, they come in, they interview, and then, they don't show up the next day, and there's no call or anything like that. And it's just so different from, just what I was taught, just even on a professional level of communication. And I hate to say it, but, you do see kind of, they have the ability to kind of just jump around, and they don't need to want to stay in one place, I guess. So it's hard, and when you do find the right fit, though, like, I have, at MAD too, I have probably half my team has been with me since day one, which is amazing, The other half, they jump and everything, but if you have that core group that you can rely on, and you can call them when that server doesn't show up or that bartender doesn't show up, like, that's what honestly, like, keeps us going. And those people, are the ones that are at the forefront and like an extension of me, which you have to have that, or else, you have people that are running your program that really don't care about it, and it shows to the customer.
No, the customer knows. Yeah. Without question. They pick up on that right away.
Absolutely.
Well,
okay. You probably know too from like just sitting down at a restaurant, like, if the person really enjoys their job or if they're just trying to collect a paycheck and they don't care at all about what they're selling to you.
No, 100%. So I'm like a dude who definitely is a regular at several places, because when I find that, I'm attracted to it, and I appreciate it. I recognize it. I have an eye for it, and I really become. I'm like Norm. Remember Norm from Cheers?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah.
There's a breakfast place that I go to, almost every day, and I'm kind of like that. But I value that so much, and I do. I think that it is so rare. It's actually mind-boggling to me that it's so rare nowadays that when you find it, it is highly noticed. Not even just somebody like me who's really paying attention to it. I think that to almost anybody, you just intuitively you recognize it, and it's such a differentiator. In a saturated world with a lot of competition, the customer service piece, and that's not just true in restaurants, it's true in so many industries, but certainly in the hospitality industry, which revolves around that. It's amazing how rare you find that now. So I know it's a big challenge for you.
Yes.
Well, tell me so let's talk about opening your first place, and some of the emotions and thoughts that went into that. I know that was probably exciting, but also daunting, and putting your stamp on your first place. And just, I'm curious, what was going through your head as that you went through that process.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I did events for like the last 5 years. So this was my first time actually opening a restaurant. So the planning part of it was similar to an event in the sense, you put your pieces in place and you build on your budget and everything like that. So that was easy. But then I realized, like, whereas with an event, I can plan a $1 million event, that day comes, and then, the next day it's over and you go on to the next one. Well, with the restaurant, it doesn't, there's no ending. Keep building and building and building. So it was really, we sat down, it was really just myself, my dad, like I said, a few of like the people on the executive level that he's been with. And then I brought our current general manager, Steve Pellicero, in. So him and I were really the two that were on site every day managing it. But with Matt, it's in the West Loop, which I don't know if you're familiar with the West Loop, just in the last 5 years has grown immensely. I mean, it's right by the United Center, but it's become such a food and drink-driven area. There's such great restaurants and bars, and now there's stores, and just residential has just evolved so much. So we were kind of one of the first restaurants that opened on Madison Street. It was more like sports bars and stuff, so we were kind of a step up from that sports bar. And really I was looking for just a place that was comfortable and that was really going to become an extension of people's homes, that I could see the same people weekly. And I really compared it to, you know, my dad's first restaurant, which was Stefani's, which was in a neighborhood. So it was exciting to me to be in a neighborhood and not so much like in a, you know, busy, just kind of touristy area, but that I would hopefully see, you know, the residents of the neighborhood. And with that being said, I wanted to, you know, make the menu appealing to kind of all cuisines. So we started with a global infused menu in the sense that there was something for everyone. Our 3 staple dishes are like a shredded Brussels sprouts dish, mac and cheese, and then our chicken and waffles, which, you know, chicken and waffles in the last few years too has just become so popular. But what ours is set apart by is it's a churro, like Belgian waffle more or less, with chicken Milanese on top, pork belly, and then we serve it with syrup and a homemade hot sauce. So people just like love it. It's delicious. It's like dessert. But then really we created just a fun cocktail menu. We have a great wine list, and then, you know, craft beers. So there's really something for everyone. And like I said, you see the same people, kind of like the Friday night couple that comes in for happy hour, and then you see, you know, the gentleman that comes in twice a week and just sits at the bar and, you know, orders a burger and a beer. And so, and then we do a great brunch. Saturday and Sunday I'm a big brunch person, so this brunch is my favorite. Saturdays and Sundays we do bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys, and we just have like a great food menu to complement that. So it's honestly has turned, which, like, looking back now, you know, I thought, now that I've opened, you know, I've been part of 2 more openings, I look back and I'm just like, I thought that was like so hard and like everything, and it's just crazy to now look at it and see that it's just like a well-oiled machine and it runs day to day without me. But it's everything that, like, I really envisioned, truly.
Man, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I know that's got, I mean, it's good to see that you have set something up where you can be there as much as you want, and I'm sure you value being there, but like you said, a well-oiled machine. It's hard, I think, to when you pour the kind of passion and love and energy into something that you have, that your dad has, that all of you have. I think it must be challenging to learn to let go of some of that and trust others. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, we have 5 of us here at Schedule Fly. We've had 5 the whole time. I'm like terrified of hiring somebody from outside to ever come in and help, because I feel like, but like you said, sometimes I feel stretched, you know, like I'm doing so many things, but I just, trusting, it's hard.
It's so hard.
But it's
I
also
feel like
like
this is a therapy session. It's like you're reading my mind.
Well, I mean, it's got to be, but then I would imagine there's some, you know, it's got to be liberating to a degree when you realize that you can. And even if somebody doesn't do it exactly, they're doing it close enough that it does the job and does it, you know, not average, but does it really well. And because if you hold on tight and cling to something, you know, you can't grow. Anyway.
No, I mean, you just nailed it right there. I mean, for sure, you have to have the passion, and without the passion, you don't have anything. But with that being said, too, the passion sometimes, like, can overwhelm you, and it's, you know, with now not. It's one thing when I was on site at Mad Social every single day, all day. If I wanted to change, you know, a candle placement or something like that. Like I had that flexibility, and now it's truly picking what is important that I need to like have my eyes on. Like, do I really care if that manager puts the candle on the other side? No. At the end of the day, what I need that manager to do is touch every table and everything. So you do kind of have to step back and prioritize what really matters, and not so much like, especially now with having 3 locations, I can't really I can't really care that much how every single little thing is set up, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'm blessed that we're starting to really kind of like get though in the groove of it with the people that we have in place. And I hope, you know, we continue to bring more on. But even that, like you bring people on and then it's that, you know, beginning stages of like, you got to like coach them and work with them. And, you know, that's my biggest thing. I'm trying to find the time now, you know, especially with this new team that just started at Stefani Prime. They're great, but I also need to give them the same attention and time to work with me that I did at MAD and, you know, that my brother's doing at Bar Cargo, because it's extremely important.
Well, for sure. But, you know, I think that one of the things that, you know, one of the big motivators, when you really look into the psychology of what motivates people, one of those things is autonomy. And my guess is that it's almost like when you let go enough to trust somebody and even give them, you know, like if you don't come in and move the candle, it lets them know, it signals to them that they do have the autonomy to treat that place as if it's their own and make decisions without Gina coming in and changing this, that, and the other, which immediately would say, okay, I don't really have autonomy here. At the end of the day, you know, she's going to do what she wants to do, and I'll just kind of, you know, follow behind. But giving them that autonomy, I would guess, and going through the uncomfortable process of enabling that level of trust probably endears them to what you all are doing even more, and that's why you have, you know, a lot of this, you know, folks that you have a lot of longevity with employment with key people out.
Absolutely.
It sounds like that's what y'all have figured out.
Yep. I say that in every weekly meeting. I say, like, especially, you know, with my team at MAD, I pride them. I continue to say, like, you know, I appreciate everything that they have continued to hold it and have the doors open every day. And continuously we're getting, you know, the same positive reviews. I said, it's a reflection on them, and they need to pat themselves on the back. It's not me anymore that people are going there to see me. Like, you guys are continuing to do the brand that I set up, and I love it. Like, it is such a wonderful thing, and I use those exact lines, like, run it as if it's your own. I'd rather you make a decision on the spot, and it might not always be the right decision, but you're going to learn just as much as I've learned from decisions that I've made, you know, and I want them to grow just as much as I hope to continue to grow. And like, and that's where it just goes back to, I really feel like it's a family, you know, it's a family, and you want everybody in your family to succeed. They may not always be on the same path as you at that moment, but we're all in it right now together, and let's do what we can to, you know, build each other up. And but I mean, I just went to MAD the other day, and I walked in there, and I hadn't been there like in a week because I've just been up in the suburbs, and it was just such a like wonderful feeling. And I really like just sat in the dining room, and I felt like funny even doing it. We weren't open yet, and I just like looked around, and it's just like crazy where how much I've grown in Cheers, and how much even like my staff at MAD has grown. And you know, I recall sitting with, you know, that server, for example, like at the beginning and coaching them, you got to do this, and now they're, you know, our head server. So it's awesome. I love it. And that's what continues to push me to, you know, stay motivated and stay on track, because it is hard. I mean, I'm running on like no sleep, no days off or anything, but when you see things kind of come to life, and you see the customers enjoying it, and you see your staff happy, it, you know, it makes it all worth it.
Fuel, for sure. Gosh, well, listen, I want to respect your time. I could talk to you all day, but I know you're very busy, and I appreciate this a lot. I know anybody listening will really learn a ton. So thank you very, very much, and thank you for the business. And just very
I
proud
have to
to
say,
serve
I
y'all.
love Schedule Fly. It was my general manager that brought it to Matt 2 years ago, and I will never not use it at a place that I open. It is just such an amazing tool, and being able to just communicate with the staff, I think, is so important, especially now with you running in so many different directions. It's the easiest way to just get any information out there, and I love it. So thank you.
Oh, well, that's real nice of you to say that. I really appreciate that. We're very proud to serve y'all, and we appreciate the business a ton, and we just love serving places that we admire and respect very much, and y'all certainly fall right into that category. So this has been awesome. I appreciate it. I enjoyed talking to you, and anytime you ever need. Have I sent you some hats, by the way, yet, Gina? I can't remember.
Oh, no.
Okay. I got to get your address offline. I'll shoot you a note.
Okay.
I want to get your address. I want to send you some Schedule Fly trucker hats to have to pass around to some of your folks. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And, I hope we talk again soon.
We will. Thank you, Gina, very much.
Thanks. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.